Greetings there, YouTube. This video is going to be about the classless nature of Gurps. It is not a class-based system, is what I'm saying. What that means, for those of you that aren't familiar with the concept of a classless system, a class system usually follows a standard progression. You get experience, you level. Your character gets bumped up a little bit at every leveling. As a class-based character, usually your skills are predetermined for you. You may not start with any experience or points or dots or whatever the system calls it in those particular skills, but you're defined a certain set of skills that you're allowed to work with, and you only have that framework. You also, in a class-based system, tend to have certain class-based abilities. The backstab of the thief or the rogue or the assassin or whatever variation of D&D or D&D knockoff fantasy you're playing, or in some other systems, Rift sticks out in my mind. The Glitter Boy and the Glitter Boy power armor. The only way to get that particular set of power armor, and I think their weapon's called like the boom gun or something stupid like that. It's like a laser or a rail gun or something that only this particular class has. You can only get that armor and that weapon with that class. So there could be items or skills or abilities that are associated with this class, and the advantage to having that class is that set of skills, items, or abilities. But you can't ever get away from that, and I feel that it limits the choices you have in role-playing. And I didn't have a problem with that when I started role-playing. I started playing D&D, and classes are fine. I made up a few classes, get a few new classes or something from old copies of Dragon Magazine or whatever, and give yourself a little more options here and there. But eventually you just kind of run out of character concepts. I mean, if you want to, you can play the gnomish fighter thief, but so having a classless system to me keeps things the most fresh. Even the same skills, the same set of skills and the same stats on your character sheet can be radically changed by the advantages and disadvantages that are also important to the GURPS character creation. And I think that's the real heart of where it deviates from the class system. Instead of just saying, well, I'm going to be a fighter and I get the most hit points and I can use any weapon, it's not much of a character concept. One thing I've heard on a couple of YouTube channels is the playing a character sheet versus role-playing a character, and I think a class-based system really plays into the playing a sheet versus playing or role-playing the actual character. And I'll use this example of the fighter again. We'll go back to that. So in a class-based system, okay, you think about, well, what do I want to play? I want to make a knight. Then maybe he's got like a scar on his face, a trademark scar. He's very recognizable, and he's not just low-level knight. He's kind of working his way up. He's a veteran of wars and got kind of a reputation. He even owns his own small keep, and the village and the nearby hamlets are under his protection, and he gets tax revenue from them. And I know in D&D you can carve out 20 circular miles of an area of all monsters, and you will naturally attract a host of warriors, and you can build a castle keep, and okay, well, I guess you can kind of do that, but it goes on this very stagnated progression of every time you level, your character just jumps up. Whereas in GURPS, being a non-class system, you get experience points, you can spend them right after the game. So your character is progressing and growing in a natural, normal way. Your character will actually have a more natural character arc and development arc. So you can't start out with that knight concept in D&D. And even if you are a knight on the sheet, you are still just a fighter. You may call yourself a knight, but that's, you know, you move away from where your castle keep is and all that, and you're just another fighter. You stop being that knight, and the embellishment details like the reputation and the scar on your face, it's kind of fluff. It makes for fun role playing, but in most class-based systems, there's really no tangible benefit to that. Whereas in GURPS, sure, yeah, you've got a scar on your face, and it's almost a trademark scar. Maybe you got like the Joker, the fish hook cut right there on the sides of your mouth. It's pretty distinctive, and it's also pretty horrific. So in GURPS, that would be considered a disadvantage, and you get points back for that. So you're starting with 100 points is usually the stock character. I'm not going to keep a running tally of the number of points. We'll just kind of generalize, because most people don't like math. But you've got the scars and that sort of thing, and you do spend, or you get those points back, but you want those points to use those points to offset that disadvantage. So by having a solid character concept, instead of just saying, well, this is kind of who I am, and I've got these things going on about me in a class-based system that just add fluff, in D&D, or in GURPS, excuse me, in D&D, you can't get any benefit back for having scars. In GURPS, you can, and you can use those points and put them right back into your character. Maybe you do want to spend 5 points in a reputation. He's got the reputation of being a protector of the weak, and maybe you do want to give him a little bit of status. So you give him 5 points in status, 10 points in status, and he is a lesser lord, or maybe a slightly higher knight up on the totem pole. You might not be able to afford that set of plate mail, but you can spend a few extra points, 5, 10, 15 points, whatever you need, and start out with even higher money, as opposed to many class-based systems that your starting money is completely determined by your class too, which never made sense to me. But so you're offsetting these disadvantages with the positive attributes. You've got the trademark scar and the disfigurement, but you're using that to enrich your character concept and make it more tangible by getting some status and a reputation, a little extra money to have that kind of equipment to become that knight, as opposed to just the generic fighter. And as you gain more experience as you play, you can increase your status and increase your reputation, increase your skills, of course, but it makes for a more natural character progression, and it doesn't confine you into the concept of, well, I'm just a I'm just a fighter, or I'm just a cleric. Oh, sorry about that. But yeah, I think that really kind of sums it up. I know newer players tend to shy away from Gurps, I've found, as opposed to the more class-based systems, because, oh yeah, I'll just pick a fighter, be an elf, there we go, I've got a character concept. But I've found the best way to get around that is just be like, well, ask them directly, what sort of person would you like to pretend to be? Is there a character from a book or a movie or a video game or a TV show? And you can ask them, what aspects about this character do you like? What parts do you not necessarily like? Maybe you don't have to exactly copy a movie character, but look at it, find the traits. And Gurps, the way it's structured, will allow you to craft that character concept rather than just trying to work a class into fitting what you want. You can come up with your concept and just without being hampered by the constraints. Well, that's an out of class skill. Well, maybe I have a warrior type that can do forgery and happens to be a good liar. Well, in certain gaming systems, those might be thief type skills, so you can't use them, or maybe you just can't use them nearly as well, and you have to spend more skill points, or what the situation is. But if he's somebody in a mafia guy in the 1930s, you probably might use a fighter type, a warrior type concept outline. Yeah, you get your combat skills, decent physical traits, you're fairly strong, got a good number of hit points, buy bulletproof vest, armor. But he can't do that all the time, so he does have forgery. He is a liar. He would have other skills that make him real, and that's even more mundane skills like carpentry or welding or something like that. Yeah, that's since most class-based systems I've found are also heavily combat oriented. That takes away from the role-playing too, and takes away from your ability to have non-combat oriented skills. But to each his own, I guess. If some people really are hung up on their systems and they have a deep understanding how the rules work, and I've met people that they have planned out, depending on the system, what class they start with, or subclass, or prestige class, or whatever they want to work into. And they know their character progression like that, but they're still working down a predefined road. And the classless system in Gurps lets you work within the framework that fits your original character concept. You're not constrained by that. If you really love being constrained by that, I guess go do it. But for me, and I think what most, I don't want to say veteran role players, but most people who have been role playing for a while get bored with the dungeon hacking cycle. They get bored with constant combat. They want something, the storytelling. They want that interaction. They want to have that sense of make-believe and fiction with the interaction of the other players by pretending to be something else. And your classless Gurp system plays into that so much more. It allows you to pick those advantages and disadvantages that you're willing to play anyway, and then rewards you for it, not just by giving you points back in character creation, but you continue to work within that framework and work within your original character concept. Even if you never get into combat, you will still continuously grow as a character and receive experience and can develop along the way. I think that's all I've got for this little rant. Hope you enjoy that one, and see you next time.